Well, hello out there from our secret cabin location. You're Irene.
And you're Lee.
Hang on. I'm Irene.
Oh, and I'm Lee.
And this is definitely Wellness Unfiltered.
Yay! Right. Well, first of all, the cabin has a guest. A male guest, which means we currently have 2 males in the building, and our producer Justin is in the corner being, how would I describe it?
Wary?
Wary is the word.
There was actually a growl and I saw some side teeth earlier.
Side teeth. Justin, we see you. We love you. There is room for more than one man in the cabin. Deep breaths, everybody.
Our guest today is the fascinating, the wonderful, the genuinely, amazingly delightful Mason Taylor. Mason is a mushroom maven, and he's here to tell us what's poppin' underground and on the tree stumps. Can I just say, I had Mason on my first podcast about 10 years ago now, and that was the most downloaded and most listened to episode I ever had.
Ooh, exciting. Okay, now we have made ourselves a promise about mushroom puns.
Okay, we need to impose a cap on them from now on.
That's one. Okay, we're allowed 3. 3 mushroom puns maximum, and then we're going to button up and behave like good Swiss bankers, because those don't count.
We will try to be good. There isn't much room for error around here.
2, we're going to have a ball with Mason. There's so much to mushrooms. The health side, the nutrition side, the wellness world going completely fungi mad at the moment.
Language, Lee.
Noted. Moving on.
So we've also got You're on speaker, and we have a truly delightful listener joining us today, and I cannot wait for you to meet them.
And if Justin can compose himself and stop sooking long enough to form a question, he's surely got something for us in our Woman's Splain segment this week. Justin, have you got one? All right, we'll take that as a yes.
And I've got the floor later. I feel like it's me doing a rant every week, but I do have another rant, and I wish it was a rave, but it's not. Well, maybe it's possibly both. I'm not sure yet. I think I'm going to leave it as a surprise.
The world is your oyster, Irene.
Sounds like a reference to a mushroom there. Is that the 4th mushroom reference?
Maybe the 3rd.
I think that's the 3rd. Okay, there isn't no more of those. Let's welcome Mason to the cabin.
Yay. So Mason, I know you're the king of mushrooms. I'm going to talk a little bit more about that today. But first, I would love to chat to you about your philosophy. It's something that I'm really interested in. And I went onto your website and I had a good look all about it. And I noticed that you were talking about Taoism. And that's something that I talk to my acupuncturist a lot about. And especially the philosophy side of it and longevity and the fact that it's not really about adding years, it's about that deep vitality that you feel. I'd love to know what practices beyond herbs help you kind of embody that idea.
Yeah, well, the Tao is a very ancient philosophy, and like all the real good philosophies, kind of like ancient personal development in a way. It just frameworks so life is a bit smoother and happens a bit more synergistically with other people and the world. That's like my gift that Superfeast gave me. I sacrificed and gave a lot to Superfeast, and that was, I call it when organizations that are real like soul driven, I kind of witnessed this pearl of reciprocity that is handed over to the founder, and that's what it gave me, was the Tao. And the Taoist philosophy is, as you were saying, there's 2 sides. I'm not going to talk about what's called Qigong in Taoism, which is real deep inner spiritual cultivation.
Yeah.
I'm going to stay on the other side of the Minggong, which is that vitality and moving towards your destiny, or moving towards your death, and doing it in a way where you're an awesome person, you're integrated, you're healthy enough, you're not institutionalized. You're not someone that gets into elderhood and starts projecting your stuff all over everybody, or needing to be told by some, John Laws type person what to think, or I'm a leftist and this is how I see the world. You yourself. You've refined your own personality.
Yeah.
So yes, there's a lot of immortality talk in the Tao, in Taoism. You know, we take herbs, there's particular diet, you flow with nature, you flow with the seasons, you realize change is the only constant, so you get very good at transforming yourself as change comes about. And yeah, you take herbs and you do all these things, and more or less you get yourself crazy vital so you can go and do all that really good work. So as soon as you get vain to be like, I just want to be immortal and live a long time, you see yourself go off that wu wei path of naturalness.
And you do see that a lot, huh? Like
Lee hates that. That's what Lee talks about all the time. She's always talking about the bros.
And the immortality complex.
So this is a really interesting conversation, because when we were having that conversation, Lee, you were saying, you know, that immortality and you're not, you don't love it.
It's not a field of medicine.
No.
Sorry.
But I was saying how much I loved it and that I do want to live forever, and I do listen to all those TikTok men and talking about how they drink their special coffee and eat their oats or whatever, and that they're going to last forever. So are you saying that there's another way I can do that? How do you say it?
Taoism.
You're saying I can go to Taoism instead?
You want to live a long, long time if it's relevant.
I do.
As well, and you want to have a real good death. You want to be like your body's healthy enough. You've had so much vitality that you've gone and you were able to do, like, you know, let's just use the word karmic, but in a practical way. Like, you've done your duty, you've delivered to your community, you've had the chi, vitality, energy to go and like tackle new projects. And, you know, I don't have a bucket list, I have an awesome list to go and look at all the awesome things you want to do in life. And then with that vitality, then you enter into elderhood, and this is what the Tao is all about. The reason you take these Taoist tonic herbs and medicinal mushrooms is to support the treasure of your Shen, which is the culmination of your personality, your mind. Maybe there's something a little bit more infinite that you feel about yourself, whatever, just throw that in the pot as well. That's your Shen. And as you get into elderhood, your Shen is protected, and that diamond of your mind and who you are is refined with, I don't know, we're just big bags of bacteria that are conscious, and we want to make sure that consciousness is really healthy. So when we get to old age, that wisdom is there. And I think then we kind of reframe why do we want to stick around for a long time? You're kind of like, that's an interesting conversation. I don't know who you're talking about. Part of me is like, does the world really need David Asprey forever? I don't know.
Yeah, that's exactly. And I was saying, no, I love this guy because he's telling me how I can live forever. But I think what I'm hearing, and I know Lee doesn't love him at all, but I think what you're saying is there's another way.
All I care about is my podcast is beating his on the charts in Australia.
Right, well, it will after...
My producer sent me that the other day.
It will after this. So, as a novice asking the question then, are you saying that in this episode you are going to talk about some herbs and some mushrooms that I could be taking so I can achieve what you're just talking about?
Yeah, we definitely don't mind living a little longer. We don't mind preventing ourselves from degenerating early. That's a very core Taoist principle. So in the Tao, there's 3 treasures. So there's a very complex world of infinite variables and things we can be doing for our health. That's called the 10,000 things in Taoism. You take a step back and then you get to the 3. So the 3 is the Jing, Qi, and Shen. And so you can relate to your body as having Jing, foundational essence, your bones, your sex drive, your ability to age without degenerating early. And just being a legend when you're older because you've got a healthy base. Then there's your Qi. That's your vitality and your capacity to integrate life, mobilize yourself, animate yourself. And then there's your Shen. It's kind of like the cargo of your spirit that's on the ship. The ship is the Jing, crew is the Qi, the destination, and the cargo is the Shen. So the idea of the Tao is to be healthy enough, have enough vitality, so that your Shen is completely intact when you get to old age.
I love that. And I wanted to know, actually, I know obviously we spoke a little bit, you mentioned Superfeast, and you're running this like highly successful wellness brand. How do you actually personally reconcile the commercial side of running that wellness brand with the Taoist idea of non-attachment or wu wei, effortless action? And how does that sit with the ego-driven aspects of wellness marketing, for example? Does it change the way that you market your products and your own marketing messaging?
Yeah, this is a never-ending wrestle that I have. Just as much as, say, like, a spiritual or personal cultivation path you'd imagine pulls you out of the world.
Yeah.
There is that, and I do have that in my cultivation practice. And another part of you, which I like being out of the world, the other part of you pulls, you get really pulled in to being a part of nature. That's the point. You're alive, you're a part of life, you're engaged, and then you've got your interests, you've got your inclinations, you've got your karmic inclinations, and it's your responsibility to go after it and be a part of nature. And remember, when you're sitting outside having your cuppa, listening to the birds, and you're like, oh, it's just so lovely. The birds are like, get out of my territory. I'm going to kill you. And it's like, you know what? I can have a bit of that in me as well. But as long as I'm harmonious, but I need more of that. So
and rescuing geckos out of my outdoor bath, which you just did.
Drago,
Thank you for
is that the name of your I mean, that, leaving the world better than you found it. There's a lot of dichotomy when you get into business, as you know.
I know, and I wrestle with that myself.
What I've done in my business is I've always tried to build it like an ecosystem, my organizational structure.
Yeah.
Where I got mistaken was I didn't go through the various tiers of psychological development of organizational structure and integrate them all, like animism, authoritarianism, hierarchy, flat family structure. And only when you've integrated the gold can you graduate and actually run like an autonomous, purpose-driven, essence-having, highly effective, not an orphanage for people that don't want a real job kind of organization. So the most important thing for me is I've gone back into those moments that gave birth to the organization. I have one when I'm 14, one when I'm 21, one when I'm 23, one when I was leaving university, and then a few others. There's 6, and they're moments that it's not like a brand story. This is for internal facing. I don't share this for anyone else. It's so complete in the context of intent of where I was at when lightning hit. If that didn't hit, Superfeast didn't get created. And there's a chronological order of those, and I've given them to the organization. And as you track that, there's ontological, like the purpose statement of Superfeast is to dramatically lower disease and degeneration, creating superhumans who may enter into the realms of elderhood. That's all derived objectively from moments that I was a part of and the business was a part of. I didn't pluck that out of anywhere. Likewise, the strategy derives from that, and likewise, the virtues of the company derive from that. So they're objective. And I'm kind of just got back into my CEO seat at the moment, actually. So I'm kind of looking through the marketing strategy and I'm seeing where it's gone off resonance with the essence, and we've forgotten our strategy that derives from that. But I've had to go through like a bit of a personal development on that as well to steward it.
Yeah, I know for me, like whenever I'm, need to bring the business or myself back into balance, I always go back to the reason I started it, and it was always altruistic, and it was always purpose driven, and to, really genuinely help other people. You have talked about cultivation being more than just growing herbs. I'd love to know, obviously it's so good to cultivate ourselves, and you do have that in your life. How does that kind of show up in your daily life?
Yes, cultivation is, because our society is just holding on. The institutions that we've got responsible for our health, understandably, because our population's exploding and we're all moving in so quickly, can only do Band-Aid patching and can only really try and, we can't take responsibility for your life. So we can just kind of have a look at, there's so many things to advocate for when it comes to health. It's unreasonable to expect some institution to come in and be telling us how to live in order to prevent things from happening. They could lean a little bit more to that. Yes, they've commodified disease. They commodify patients. I think it's egregious. I don't like it. But that's because we don't have a culture of cultivation. We do in our pocket of the wellness world. And cultivation, just looking at the Jing, Qi, and Shen of us as individuals. The Jing, our financial, it's kind of financial because our Jing is like our superannuation. You've got essence and energy sitting in the bank of your kidneys, and you're not leaking that essence through exhaustion and burning the candle at both ends. It's just that simple conversation we have around prevention. If you're burning it at both ends, if you're leaking your essence, you've gone in the opposite direction of cultivation. And so cultivation is very practical physiologically when it comes to our treasures, that base of Jing, our Qi, that diet, that breath work. We've actually living in places, doing work that generates that charge. And that chi is like an energetic charge that brings up, it animates the machine of your body. Otherwise, the Jing, just think of we're just a big meat puppet. The chi's like the strings that bring it up. And it's like, well, then where do we take it? That's your Shen, is moving it and choosing where to take all of that energy and that animation. Cultivating is just very simply, you're either cultivating or you're leaking. And just making sure that you prioritize. You've got these treasures in your body, and it's your number one responsibility from a Taoist perspective.
Yeah.
To shift your lifestyle to make sure that you are doing practices and you're doing work that is actually, not going to leak it.
So that's all really complex for me and a lot. I will say this though, when you came onto my first podcast 7 to 10 years ago, how old's your...
9.
Okay, your daughter, 9, about 9 years ago now. I was so inspired by this conversation, which is similar to the conversation we were having back then, that I started taking your mushrooms because I actually started taking the Jing one because I wanted this Jing that you're talking about. And I thought, how can I get this Jing? Because, I like my Aura Ring and the David Asprey's and the tech stuff. And all this other stuff is very foreign to me. But I will say this. I started taking the Jing and I also was taking the Tremella. I stopped after a few years and I've lost my way, which is why I want to mention it. But I will say the remarkable difference that I felt and that I looked from just taking those two things is unexplainable. And it's as simple as me putting, and I remember what you said. I said, how much do I put? Because I want the Jing. How do I do the Jing? I'm just going to put the Jing in my coffee. So how much do I put in my coffee? And you said you can take them to the ones that taste better, you can have more of, and the ones that taste bad, have less of, and that's nature's way of telling you how much to have. So I have a little bit in my coffee, and then with the Tremella, I'd put quite a lot in. I have just really did notice a difference, and I really don't know why I lost my way. I think it's because I stopped selling them, and they are expensive. And I don't know, one thing led to another, but I'm so inspired to get started again. But can we just talk for a moment on someone like me who wants to get this Jing, and I want to get into all of that stuff that you're saying. I think Lee's already there because she's sort of already in that realm. How do I do it? How do people do it? Is it as easy as just incorporating some herbs and some mushrooms into their routine?
Yeah, I got into this type of herbalism, which derives from a 2,000-year-old book that even back then was like, there's all of these tens of thousands of herbs, but look at these few dozen. These are the superior herbs. Some of them are medicinal mushrooms, others are the Jing herbs, some are chi herbs. But they're like, you get onto these herbs early and you take them over a long period, and they will protect the treasure of your body and then help you get a better relationship with it. So now when you reflect, you're like, okay, I took Jing.
Actually, can I just say, I do remember ordering, actually, I stand corrected. Even though I didn't have a store, I bought them direct from you. Actually bought them direct from you, paid full retail.
Yeah.
I haven't reordered, and I don't know why. I think I got busy with the new business. But yes, I had such a nice experience ordering from you as well. Yes, because I did notice without them that I felt like I needed them.
Yeah, and this is the thing. It's nice in the beginning because these herbs are precious. I think there's like... it's an understatement even to say precious in this modern age. And it's really amazing that we can get access to anything. And it should be that way. We live in this abundant world. As long as it's not detracting from the environment in some manner, we should be able to get access to all of this. Now, these herbs, the harvests were reserved solely for emperors, and then those that became hermits and went and moved to these really obscure mountains and places just so that they could go and stand and sit in meditation with access to reishi and Romania and these Jing herbs. So the fact that we can get access to them, not just en masse, but grown in the same conditions, like wild conditions, in which led to the lore of these herbs, which are like little friends that come into the body. They're adaptogenic. They help restore regulation. So in the beginning, you would have felt a massive difference And I think what you would have also felt is you would have done a bit of constitutional shifting. So you would have missed it, but you also probably weren't going to go down to that level.
I felt like I was plateauing on that. Is that what happened? I felt like, is it still working? I felt pretty good. Do I still need it?
Oh, well, that's good. So that's a different one. So in the beginning, when you start taking the Jing herbs, when you take these herbs, you don't necessarily, ideally want to be getting this massive effect. Because if there's a massive effect with an adaptogenic regulatory herb, it's good in the sense you've found a gap and a bridge that you need to build within your body.
Oh, I know. I needed it.
Well, that's it. And you would have done that. And then when you hit a plateau, one or two things happen. You go, let's give it a nudge and up the dose and see if I do have more work to do with this herb. Like reishi mushroom, when I got on it, I did 2 years mega dosing on reishi.
What's a mega dose?
I was doing tablespoons.
A day?
Of extract. Yeah, a day.
Okay.
And that ended on a 10-day water fast when I was taking reishi. And when I stopped feeling something, I'm just going to go have more and see if I get, and I would get more. But then I got to a point where I was like, I'm done. I actually don't need this anymore. And I pivoted over to somewhere else. So there's two things occurring with these herbs. First of all, dose up. If you take Jing, and it's 6 Jing herbs, roots, mushrooms, goji berry in there, romania, sustanch, you got to watch out, because these, as you restore Jing, you restore libido. That's why we call that herb sustanch in your pants. So you got to be careful, because you will get very fertile. But as you take, whether it's a Jing formula or a mushroom formula, like Mason's mushrooms, remember they are hitting receptors in the body. They are intelligently working with processes within the body. They're like, in clinic, we've got a lot of practice. I think we had 3,000 practitioners last year prescribe Superfeast. So we're kind of like really starting to get there. And the mushrooms would just be like, no matter what protocol we've got you on, a lot of practitioners will be like, we're just going to also just have you on the mushrooms on the side, which is a Chinese medicine term called fujang therapy, which means protect the upright. It means keep on cultivating the body so it can actually overcome those symptoms and not be damaged by the treatment. But it's just like having a little ace up your sleeve. And so when you start taking them, just be open. Yes, it's going to be immunity, it's going to be core energy and all that type of stuff. If your body enjoys, see what work you have to do with these Jing herbs or these mushrooms and dose up. And then when you hit the plateau, that might just be like, it's like a different season. Oh, I don't feel like salads anymore. I feel like something else. And then you can go and pivot and jump onto another formula.
Oh, that's really interesting.
Because I just stopped and then I went back down and then I had to go and get more. And I should have just kept taking them.
That happens as well. We got a campaign at the moment because I got a friend who's an addict and unfortunately just went into like a real deep episode. And he was talking to me. He's like, "Oh, look, I've just stopped doing your herbs and stuff. I just figured I didn't want to waste your money and time. I give them to him for free." And I was like, "Hey man, when you are in like the most stressful period, you're hammering your body, that's the time you should be ramping up.
That's the time it's hardest.
That's when when I was going through everything with that with my drinks business, that's when I stopped taking them.
And it wasn't that's what we do.
Yeah.
We stop yoga.
Yeah.
We stop running.
Yeah.
We stop taking these like allies of tonic herbs and all these types of things, which is it's just a framing thing.
When I moved, because I just sold up and I moved up here near Lee, that's when I reordered them from you again. When I started to feel like back calm again. When I really should have been taking them when I was stressed.
And it shoulds and woulds, but it's just a framing thing. But like, it is important to say, like, this is a really easy thing. Like, I've had a talk to a customer the other day, and she's like, my dad drinks so much. He said he'll take things, but is there any point? And I was like, yeah, go if he's having a beer, go and pop 2 reishi capsules next to his beer and get him to bring it down with his bloody long neck that he's having. Like, you should never discriminate with because if you are in a, maybe sometimes that's just like a life cycle and there's nothing to a lifestyle choice, and that, so don't, whatever, let them do whatever. But maybe sometimes there's guilt that I'm damaging myself at the moment. So, and it's like, I should just stop. I shouldn't waste my time. It's like, no. Hammer the Jing herbs, hammer the mushrooms. It's so easy to take them, and they will stop you from physiologically going closer to the edge and going into those eggshells. And they're beautiful friends to have in those times.
So I read that you used lion's mane for your mother's stroke recovery, and at the time that was seen as really super fringe, but obviously now we're in 2026 and it's being studied as a primary neuroprotective agent. How does it feel to see the science finally catch up to what you were doing 15 years ago in your garage?
Yeah, I mean, I've got a bad habit. As soon as something becomes mainstream, I get bored of it. I'm like, oh, it's not exciting anymore. And luckily, I do have little fringe herbal projects that I do. So I get to sit back and enjoy watching that mushroom do so much good work. I mean, we were talking about longevity before, and a lot of that comes from an inherent fear of death. So to bring it back into, but and that's why the Taoists and all good philosophies have some type of like, well, let's just do death meditations and focus on death and see if we can shift. And that's often where the shift on longevity to longevity for the sake of, rather than chasing immortality or just long life for the sake of long life. I bring that up because it's the same with lion's mane. Ultimately, I'm like, why is this exploding? I mean, and it's not even like now it's there, it's corroborated. But when it was really going off, we didn't even have the human studies yet. It was just like, I always say, there's a Taoist immortal in the skies doing the branding for each herb, and whoever was on lion's mane nailed it. I'm like, get him on eucommia bark, because I want to see eucommia bark get out there into the world. But lion's mane, that fear of neurodegeneration is so in our face, and so many people are watching loved ones go through that.
Well, it's one of the leading causes of, disease.
And it's scary. It's scary seeing you, and it's, somewhat happened, or it's happened to me in a different way. My mum's got permanent disability now, and,
I was going to ask about your mum.
And she's doing great. Some doctors would say miraculous, but it's just like, practical. It's been a practical recovery, don't let the meds
But with the popularity of lion's mane then and mushrooms, my concern is sometimes I do think they're just in everything, like from chocolate, like there's like teas. And so, I really get a bit skeptical when sort of mainstream brands start adding a token mushroom into their products.
Oh, you should. I call it when the 2-minute noodle entrepreneurs and venture capitalists start capitalizing on getting a bit of market share capture, and we're just going to start adding lion's mane, and we're going to do a nootropic gummy because we've seen there's a gap in the market.
Exactly.
And we're going to use these generic ingredients from a contract manufacturer.
Yeah. And it's not that these guys, they haven't picked it from the bottom of a tree in the wherever you like.
Yeah, they don't have a lion's mane farm up across from the North Korean border where the greatest lion's mane over thousands of years has been said to come from. A farmer that's only using spring water that goes and gets the spores wild and creates them. He even talks about when he grows them on wild oak as well. Everyone's not growing them on wild oak. When he grows them, he goes, there's always like a husband and wife lion's mane in the wild. They always look at each other. So that's how I grow them. So, and away from industry.
Okay, but how do you know? How does someone, again, that all sounds amazing, but what happens when Lee is going into the local Woolies and trying to see the better lion manes from the lecithin, soy lecithin ones or whatever? Like, how do you... I still can't say that.
Lecithin.
Lecithin. The question I'm trying to get to is...
Yeah.
How do you know when you're buying the real deal? I know you're the real deal, Mason, but how do you know it's the real deal? Because your products are not in chocolate and hot chocolates and all of those things. You have the purest version. But if you just want to buy some mushroom hot chocolate from the supermarket, how do you know where it comes from?
So my answer right now will just be like a generic one. What really upsets me is when there are people with severe diagnoses like MS or other immune deficiencies and things like that. When they hear and their interests, they don't have the time to do the process that I'm going to be talking about. I get really upset at that because they hear and see that a mushroom is going to do something for their immune system and the nervous system. They only have a little bit of time to capitalize, and they go for these 2-minute noodle brands. That upsets me.
It upsets me as well. I mean, that's the big bane of almost everything that we talk about on the show. And it's really about how do you know the difference between the good stuff and the crap stuff? And I know you've got the good stuff, but how do people know that? Because there's a lot of mushroom brands out there now.
Yeah, we can very quickly go for in a generic sense, I mean, it's funny, like I'm not organic because I'd have to drop my standards and the therapeutic impact.
You're beyond organic.
We're beyond organic, but when you're entering, organics are not a nice place to start. You want wood grown, so you want to look for fruiting body when you're looking at a medicinal mushroom. Then you're kind of safe. And you also want an extract. You want to make sure that you're not getting a whole ground mushroom. So this is where it gets a little bit confusing. If you look at the label, they'll often have herb equivalency, and you want to see that there isn't just a, like this many grams of lion's mane in there, and that's just been a whole ground. It hasn't been extracted and made into like a tea or a tincture and then powdered.
Will it say that on the label?
Probably not. Now, if you are interested enough, just get it. Just get started on the mushrooms. And if you still remain interested enough, you'll know the next question. So this is the thing, when we're naive to something in the beginning, we got to just remember, just be like, all right, cool. I'll just cross my fingers and hope this is good. I'll try it. If you're still interested, you will know. This is how people discover super feasts, because I've got all the big boppers out there just being lead funnels to me. And so people will go, oh, that's interesting. I'm not really feeling this. And then they'll go, oh, it's grown on it's mycelium. It's grown on grain. Well, what else? And then they'll go, okay, we want grown on wood. And then they'll go over here. And then someone will go, and not just me, there's other companies as well that are doing really good work. So it's not just all leading to me. But let's just say in this instance, and then someone will recommend, if you really want someone who's like, you want to take these long term. I've seen Mason, because he's been doing it since 2011 and he shows up at everything. And I'm like, I don't necessarily need or want my life to be about mushrooms, but I've got a real karmic obligation to lowering the amount of degeneration and disease that's happening in this world. So I'm giving myself so constantly to being an advocate for super feasts and these mushrooms and herbs that I'm out there. And that's the only way. It's the same when it's like you're doing silica. Like I've got a real affinity for silica, and and it's a very special mineral supplement to me. But I could just take, there's a brand, I'm not going to mention the brand, but I could just be taking the whatever silica,
the science-based lab version.
Yeah,
Is that the one? That's the one in the black box, isn't it? We just brought out our own silica, didn't we?
We sure did, and it's completely natural.
Of course it is. I've got an idea for the show notes.
But in the beginning, how would I know? Like, how would I know what silica? And eventually, I come across and I see, okay, here's people who I trust, and because you're forward facing and you'll put your reputation on the line and all those kinds of things. Like, that's the only way I think we can reasonably be doing this, because otherwise, it could, if silica started going off, some venture capitalist with a marketing specialist and knows how to hit all of those psychological points that are going to get into whatever that, whatever this, like, I'm so bad at marketing, honestly, like whatever that behavioral psychology things are to tilt you over the edge and get you taking our silica, like that's all out there.
Well, let's not tell them that Lee sold out as soon as the day she launched.
And I like having those attached to a good product, but like, how would I know? Eventually, I kind of see you guys are doing a silica, and then you kind of like, and then there's people who I trust who are corroborating in a way that I don't understand mineral matrices to a certain extent, but I know they've corroborated on your behalf because you're not a flash in the pan, duo or, business, women in business. And so then I can trust it. It's that. And it's complicated.
Agree. It is a matter of trust, I think. I have a friend actually, and she's doing her PhD in herbs that come from China, and she is doing a paper and discovering that many of these herbs actually contain a lot of heavy metals and lead. It's interesting when you talk about trust, because I know also with the Tao, the importance of Tao, which is traditional sourcing, and I know that you do that. How can we measure whether a mushroom grown on a log in its native forest in China is better than one grown in Australia or in a sterile lab?
Yeah. Once you get into anything that starts to boom, like the mushroom industry, you watch an explosion of production come up within an industrial area. And then, of course, you're going to see lots of metals. And it's kind of the same, unfortunately, in Australia. It's that where that heavy metals can be from like a mass-produced monocrop of mushrooms. You see it in Australia, unfortunately, with glyphosates. There's a lot of people that you can't actually get glyphosate, which is another thing I test for, which I don't need to, which is very cool. But for me, because I'm such a tripper in the way that I approach my business, and I'm such a romantic. I've never had to worry about it, which has been very lovely for me. I'd be so mortified to source anything that isn't creme de la creme, but yet I don't have the business skills or supply chain understandings to actually know how to go about and do them a lot of the time.
Yours come from like small farms, right?
Well, that's why I really felt asked back into finding a partner who had another partner who had made his wealth. He'd moved to a Western nation, but discovered Tao and discovered that there was this D-Tao growing and supplying of herbs, which was like all things that have soul within Chinese medicine had been cut out by the Communist Party. And he wanted to help to restore that. And that was, again, that 2,000-year-old book I was talking about, that Materia Medica, called the Shen Ben Xiao Jing, the Divine Farmer's Materia Medica, one of the fathers of Chinese medicine. It says with these superior herbs, reishi, ginseng, romania, goji, schizandra, eucommia bark, astragalus, these amazing herbs. And it shows, and you collect it from here, this exact, not just the province, but here's the microclimate that you harvest it from in order to get that herb that has the treasure that is used in cultivation. So if we want herbs mass grown for use for symptoms and in hospitals, it's a little bit more appropriate to grow en masse and closer. Where our reishi is grown is in, butt F nowhere. I was like, I better not swear. I was like, I forget where. I did that on the live TV thing I was doing yesterday. I was like, whoa, I really had to watch it. But when it's, like when I'm visiting our little farms, they're so obscure. They're so high up away from any city or industrial area. We do and always have done testing for way more pesticides than we need to, way more heavy metals than we need to, and to standards beyond like US organic, way beyond Australian organic standards. And now that we are listed medicines, we pass with flying colours. We've never had any issue with heavy metals because it's so away from industry. And they are these little micro farms growing herbs and mushrooms in either wild harvesting, if that's not responsible anymore, which we're always about 5 years ahead of when that's going to actually become unsustainable, and we'll pull doing wild harvesting of a herb. Then it's growing in these stressful conditions, these native conditions, and the scientific terms kind of starting to come out, which I don't really like jumping onto the scientific words because I'm just like, this is alignment with Tao to make sure that if people are taking this reishi, it's going to be the most complex and traditionally aligned, that it's actually going to deliver all of the things that made it famous with 2,000 years ago. Reishi, being the mushroom of immortality, is what it was called 2,000 years ago. The great protector comes from 2,000 years ago. Now, that is only a claim that you can put on that reishi being the greatest protector of the body, which we've now corroborated with what it does to the immune system.
And the science has caught up.
The science has caught up. The lights turn on in the immune system and you regulate yourself. You become an immune powerhouse when you take it over time. That's only if you grow it in certain conditions and it creates, what is it? Exohermesis. Exohermesis. I mean, hormetic stress is something you'd be, on top of.
Yeah.
And everyone's going into ice baths and making themselves stressed.
Terrible.
Yeah. And a little bit of stress, medicinal stress, builds character. We know that. So
I've had a lot of stress.
Yeah,
I've got a lot of character.
We're characters.
We are
all bloody characters.
Do you know what I love about that though? The TGA, you are listed. You weren't when I started selling you 10 years ago. And I think it's great that the TGA has recognised the range and recognised the benefits and allowed them to be a listed medicine, and I think that adds a lot of credibility to the
It
category.
definitely helped, yeah. I mean, it's just a resource thing. If you're a small company, it's impossible. The resources, and they're like little, like they're just like, we're like, okay, can we just get some information so we don't waste the money on and they're like, no, it's a mystery. You're gonna have to go and find out yourself. And
Oh, the
TGA,
the TGA is an absolute mystery. That's how they work. They won't give you an answer on anything about anything. You really need to spend the $50,000 through a consultant before to get an answer on if you can bring a product to market. Yeah, I've gone through it myself with with the product. My daughter and I thought we'll come up with a product. It was and I thought, I wonder if that's going to be a bit of a I wonder if I'll get a TGA if I sell that product. So we contacted the TGA to find out, and you just couldn't, like, they wouldn't say yes or no.
Oh, it's infuriating. I also as a part of me that the TGA's taught me a lot in what I need to do to run my business with integrity. I've never had to change my product. I've never had to, I've never found something where there's like an unacceptable amount of metals. Like that's where I'm thankfully I've always been good. If my herbs work, because it was started at the markets, I had mums coming back after 3 months and they give it to me and serve me if it didn't actually work. And that's when, all the mushrooms and I kind of feel like there's so many products out there that have a little bee stick worth of mushrooms in it. And I find it infuriating.
Yeah.
Because these are very special. And the herbs and when we're healthy, it might be just a little bit of a difference and we might not get as sick or whatever it is. But accumulated taking of these, if for those of us that actually want to cultivate, it can have significant constitutional shifts. That's the same way if we like really dig into our cultivation through our exercise and our breath work.
I feel like there's also a placebo element to it.
Yeah.
Like, a percentage, don't you think?
And that's what I always say. I go, you got to get beyond the placebo. And that's what I tell that. And when you talked about that plateau or, when you're taking
No, there was no placebo for me. I actually looked literally the Tremella.
Tremella and skin.
Right.
Wild.
I've never looked so good ever than after 2 or 3 jars finished. And I was eating it by the tablespoon.
There is no other thing that goes radiance shines from the inside out. It's a hydrating, yin, nourishing lung and stomach tonic. And as you do that, and it acts like the hyaluronic acid and carries, it's like, 500 times its molecular weight and hydrates and brings that like
just like
plumping.
silica.
What's that?
Just like silica.
Well, silica and Tremella, like beautification and radiance is a really big part of Taoism. And that's why Goji, Tremella, Shazandra, but then as you horsetails, like these silicas. It's why I've silica. They're probably like 15 years ago. I took silica really hard with these other tonics, and you go, in the Taoist lens, this is what yin means.
Yeah.
This is what lubrication means of an organ, and that's why they like being dewy in the lung. And then you see, because the lungs regulate the skin, if you bring yin dewy hydration to the skin, to the lung, which is what Tremella is like in your face with it in terms of that tonification, and then bang, you see the skin do it. You're like, oh my God, it works on the skin. No, it works on the lung. And then the lung works on the skin.
It works so well. Yeah, I look really good.
It's
I need to get back onto that. I'm so inspired to get back. I'm actually in my brain right now thinking I need to go straight to my warehouse and take these.
The taste, it's like
it tastes
ridiculous.
It tastes like
in a good way.
What does it taste like?
Like a sweet malt.
Like a sweet malt, yeah, like a caramelly malt.
I love that sort of woody, caramelly kind of
caramelly, little bit of caramel,
like a bit like maca, that kind of like.
Can you for the show notes?
Let's do a recipe.
I was going to say, can you do a recipe with the show notes, like a chocolatey, hot chocolatey, Tremella?
Absolutely.
And also just like a teaspoon straight into the mouth. That's a good, I call that.
You don't need a recipe for that. That's a straight from the jar.
It's called the Tremella raw dog.
That's hardcore. Actually, Mason, you mentioned you were a tripper. And we've been talking about tonics. With the explosion in interest in magic mushrooms for mental health, do you find it harder to get people to take functional or non-hallucinating mushrooms seriously? And how do you draw the line between tripping and tonic?
It's been good for me, the explosion in psychedelics, because psychedelics aren't a mystery to people anymore. They're
a mystery to me.
Well, I mean, in the sense of what a psychedelic mushroom is when someone's talking about it.
Yeah, that's true.
And so when someone says reishi, in the general kind of public, people know, you're not talking about a psychedelic mushroom anymore. Whereas at the markets, it was never ending. It's like, you bloody some of those psychedelic mushrooms.
No, that's what I did. It's the first thing I asked him when he came on 10 years ago on the podcast. I said, is this some sort of weird magic mushroom? Are these legal? Because, of course, they weren't TGA listed then, and that's all I knew.
Yeah. Well, I mean, a lot of trippers because tripping and doing shamanic journeys, or even if it's not a plant medicine, doing deep transformational work, it takes a lot of energy.
I have done a shamanic journey a number of times, and I absolutely love it. It's actually
I was just
really,
going to say,
really,
Bentley,
really
you've done
good.
that.
I have done that, and I love it.
And you can see, like, sometimes it's up all night, sometimes it's going introspective and, bringing up old memories. Whatever it is, it takes a lot of energy. So, like, my focus, like, I've always had moments where Super Feast has really exploded is when it's been really associated with, say, just supporting people who are doing deep shamanic dives and we're a major sponsor of Mind Medicine, who are responsible for getting it on the register here in Australia and having people doing psychedelic assisted therapy. So anyone that graduates from their course gets Super Feast with that context of the integration process. We use medicinal mushrooms like lion's mane and cordyceps and chaga and reishi to support the body to integrate everything that's gone through. And then we use Jing herbs to support, if you're exhausted and you actually don't have the Jing to go through those deep processes, we will get people on Jing herbs, lifestyle practices, exercise, those types of things. So you're actually strong enough to do that deep dive spiritual work or psychedelic work.
So 2026, we've heard like the reishis and the lion's mane. Tell me, like, let us in on some secrets. What are the underground varieties that you're currently researching, and ones that we will be hearing about in 2027?
Yeah, those fringe ones that you did. He teased those fringe ones before, and I was thinking, what are they?
What are they, and what do they do?
Yeah, I mean, from a mainstream perspective, you would have heard of them. You definitely heard of them. I mean, like, we've mentioned all those ones. I mean, Tremella's going mainstream. Turkey tail's going mainstream.
Turkey tail.
No, that's pretty mainstream. I sell a lot of that.
Yeah. So then you go to tiger milk.
Okay, no, haven't heard of that.
There's tiger milk mushroom, which has definitely got all its research around Singapore, which is
what's
a very
that for?
interesting. It's like, it's so funny with mushrooms. It's like we can get there's a few minute differences, but it's a new way to get immunity. Essentially.
So it's your B vitamins.
The tiger milk.
Yeah.
So on the macro, you see, this is I never go into the macronutrition and micronutrition.
Right,
I always go into therapeutic biological outcomes.
Yeah.
And that's what I like. So you've heard about the tiger milk, which is, we've had a lot of people. But then if you really want to go underground, now you start going into Australian varieties, like, like cordyceps.
Yes.
You heard of cordyceps?
Yeah.
Grows on caterpillar. So down in Tassie and in Victoria, we have a native cordyceps called Cordyceps gunnii. Now that's interesting. If you want to like really start tapping into, those, this is where there's going to be the myconaut trippers, those and mycologists in Australia who are going and harvesting this wild, and you'll go to a market stall down there and you'll see someone's got a long native and it grows on, the snow moth or whatever it is, and turns it inside out into a mushroom. That's a cool one to support these like small Australian harvesters.
Yeah.
Likewise, the artist conch, Ganoderma applanatum, is going to get a lot of application in the world with oncologists. And that's
isn't it?
And that's endemic here as well as China. That's always nice. It's the same as turkey tail. It's endemic here. It's endemic there. You know, we have our own Ganodermas like reishis here in Australia as well. So I'd say to start looking out, because the Australian adaptogens, especially because we were cut off from Indigenous medicine, and there's still a lot there that, like, understandably so. It's not like the Chinese system that was documented and it's been handed. They went through like a self-colonization, and then those who were still within it, holding the Tao and the herbal wisdom, handed it out there and did an open source system, which is what I work with, an open source system of herbalism. It's not like that in Australia, understandably, but support those little mycologists and those people that you'll start be selling little Aussie mushroom products.
Oh, I love that.
I love that too. Can I ask again, just to bring it back down to simplifying it for even just for myself, if anyone listening is as inspired as I was the first time I met you, and as I am again now, Lee, are you inspired? Like, do you just want to start straight away?
I'm super inspired.
Yeah. So where do we start? Because it's very overwhelming. You've got a really big range. There are a lot of mushrooms out there. Am I correct in saying if you're a female over the age of 35, maybe I'm in my 50s now, but in our 40s or 50s or 60s, Lee, is Tremella and Jing, are they the two to start with? Because that's what I was thinking. But then you started talking about lion's mane and reishi, and then I thought maybe I need those too. And I'm actually quite confused. And you can't have all of them, can you? Or can you?
I mean, like, yeah, you can. If you're that type of personality like me that needs to go mad scientist on it and buy six or seven,
and I'm
you
not.
can.
Yeah, and I'm not. And I don't think our listeners. I think our listeners might just want 2 or 3.
100%.
Yeah.
So then you just need to do your chart in your head about what's the actual, like, genuinely most important thing and what your intentions are. So Jing is a lovely place to start.
Looking good and having energy in mind. So looking good and having vitality.
Good news is, I mean, your skin's great, and so you don't probably need Tremella. I'd leave as a bonus one, and don't let it take up a spot.
Okay, just have that for dessert.
Because looking good really is going to come from like some seriously deep, like, inner nervous system regulation and immune activation.
Okay, so can you say for me and then say for Lee what you would say we could start with?
I still just want you back. So to say the Jing isn't like. I'd probably even like to see you graduate from Jing. Everyone else listening who's starting, get onto Jing. You want to see whether you've got a gap and a leakage there within that whole kidney water system of your foundations.
So start with Jing.
Yeah, that's your root. So you start on the Jing. But I think you've graduated from Jing. Go to the I Am Gaia, which is the women's blend. And
I think that's got ashwagandha in it. And,
Nah.
it doesn't?
No.
Oh, okay. I thought it had...
No nightshades in it.
Oh, okay, because I can't have ashwagandha. It makes me fall asleep. So I can have the I Am...
Gaia.
Okay.
Yeah. I Am Gaia is the beautiful women's regulatory formula. Blood building, blood vigorating, uterine toning. It's a beautiful formula.
Is it good for perimenopause? And all? Okay.
And it's like across the board regulator. So it's like whether you're a teenage woman or perimenopause or going through the second spring of menopause, when that energy, the chi moves from the uterus to the heart in Taoism, and so we want a formula that supports that gateway and make that real harmonious. And for women, and this is what my wife does, and I formulated it with my wife and other people. So I don't speak on behalf of women. And when I say this, I repeat because that's not
okay,
my
so that
my world,
and then can I have another one as well?
What about for immunity?
And then everyone on like either a Mason's mushrooms, like just that formula. If you can only take capsules, you can just do the mushroom mate. That's just 8 mushrooms, and just go ham on mushrooms. It's like there's too much going on in the world at the moment.
Hang on, so I'm having the I Am
Gaia
and I'm having
Mason's
Mason's mushrooms.
You're on Mason's mushrooms as well.
Oh, so I'm taking those
We're
two.
all gonna do.
I want to try the Mason's mushrooms.
And I'll get you some Mason's mushrooms.
Okay, so Mason's mushrooms is for everyone can have that. Gets all of them in one.
I want everyone on at least like a Mason's mushrooms. And as you said, you add it to a smoothie or a tea or your coffee, whatever. That's the powder. If you can't do a powder, that doesn't take...
Can I add it to my chai?
Yeah, chai, exactly. Yeah. You Trojan horse it anyway. Consistency is key.
Yeah.
And let's do it for 2 and 3 months, especially everyone going into the winter season. Just watch how armored you get within your immunity.
Gonna do it.
And then anything else you're doing, I mean, like, I'd probably even want to say like something fun, like, Schisandra berry, like the quintessential herb. It's like sunrise energy coming in through the liver. So it helps all the organs get into song and harmony with Schisandra. But it's a beautiful yin tonic as well.
Yeah.
It's like lubricating.
We do that, add our silica product for our skin, inside, outside. We've covered the whole gamut pretty much, right?
And I'll send you both Tremella, because Tremella's your bonus.
That's what I'm thinking. I was thinking Tremella and our silica together as well.
Yeah.
Like, would that work?
And then you can add Schisandra in there. That's like ancient beauty elixir.
Ooh,
hang on. Is that going to make me look better than the Tremella?
It's kind of different. It's a different type of radiance, but Schisandra is even more of a famous beauty elixir.
Does it taste as good though?
It's called it's the 5 flavor fruit. So it hits you sweet, sour,
salty,
stringent.
bitter,
It's experience. It's like you got to try it. It's medicinal. You won't do as much as Tremella. Tremella's the easy one.
All right, so Mason, I have a very, very important question for you now. Obviously, mushrooms are as fashionable as Portobello Road in London. What are the mushroom jokes you'd rather not hear again, and what's a fresh one for us?
The fungi one is endearing, and I don't actually care.
Yeah.
But I'm like, it's like
cute.
I got to breathe out of my nose when that one happens. I'm like, or I got so much love in my heart for you, or something like those kind of. I think even my program, if someone's going through financial difficulties or think about, we've got that's called our Mush Love program.
Oh.
Things like that. That's very sweet. Which is like anyone going through real bad diagnosis or really hard times, you can reach out, and we've got a program where we'll send you complimentary mush. But even when I hear the Mush Love program, I roll my eyes and I'm like, ugh, even though I came up with it, it's very cute. That name.
It's cute, and I love a good pun. I really do.
Yeah, Lee loves. Lee
I used to be
loves
an English teacher. I love a good pun.
Yeah, you do love a pun.
No, I do.
She's a good writer as well.
No, I've heard.
Yeah,
and even read.
This again is just a personal question that I think our listeners would be interested in, and that is, how do we take them? Can we have them in our hot coffees and our teas? Are they affected by heat? Can we put them in baking and then put them in soups? Like, just how can we? Because that's the other thing about taking something. If it's hard to take, we won't do it.
Yeah, and that's nice to kind of in the beginning, you'll be finding your feet with them because it's something new. But very quickly, you'll see you can integrate them more into the kitchen and more into the dietary flow. Stop thinking of it as a supplement so much and start thinking as a herbal practice. And then you'll be like, oh, actually, I'm comfortable putting it anywhere. And then it'll just be flavor again. Like, you don't put Shazandra in the spag bowl, but you can put a big dose of Mason's mushrooms in the spag bowl. Yeah. It's kind of like a little.
I can put it in my savoury mints.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Mints. Your savoury mints, and then you put
in a chai. You stack it into anything you're already doing, and you'll find that. And there's capsules there if anyone wants to do capsules. But yeah, the heat doesn't affect it. You'd have to hard boil it for quite a while to really get some to affect the therapeutic. So you could whack it into boiling water and stir it into your tea, smoothies. You've got to find a way. Your mission, everybody, is to know that tonic herbalism that talks about 2,000 years ago, if you take these herbs consistently over time, you'll ward off premature aging. That's the Jing. Maintain lightness through the body. That's the Qi. And maintain that brightness through the eye, so you become who you really are. Is Shen. That relies on consistency. So any way you can remove the barriers and just find, I will take it if I do it here, then that's a yes.
Yeah, so for me, it's in my coffee every morning because that is for me something that I will always do.
Yeah, you can't stop them being therapeutic as long as you're getting them in, and it doesn't even matter how.
Wow!
Great advice.
Mason.
Hasn't it been amazing?
Yeah, I'm so inspired.
Me too.
Thank you. I've had a few nice insights this conversation as well, so thank you for the platform.
Thank you so much for coming all the way down from Byron Bay.
All the way to the secret cabin. Thank you so much. It's a cool
secret cabin, everybody. I'm not going to give away any secrets, but it's good.
Now I know why it was my most downloaded episode.
Yeah.
Now I know. Now I remember 10 years later. It's incredible. The information's almost the same. It's just more validated now. And more widely
particularly
known.
Validated by science as well.
Yeah, and Australian TGA and all of those
Absolutely.
things. And you know it's validated when the 2-minute noodle brands, as you called it, jump on the trend as well. Thank you, Mason.
Thank you
so Mason. And now it's time for Womansplain.
Hello, Lee and Irene. Thanks for your continued and patient support of maledom. I've been in contact with Buston, my friend with a gut girth issue from EP1. He says he is at about 43% adherence to your recommendations, and knowing Buston as intimately as I do, that is quite the result. Ooh. Yeah. He's having high protein breakfast most days, including this one, and the other things you suggested, like exercising every day, mixing it up, walking, tennis last night, gym, thumb wrestling, running, and it's showing, and people have remarked on his shred.
Please, can you not say shred ever again?
Noted. Okay. My question this week concerns pickle juice. Like me, you've probably seen it a lot when you're watching the footy, because it comes up in footy games all the time. They're served pickle juice. It seems all of a sudden sports people are chugging pickle juice, and I'm not sure why. Is it something that us sports-loving men need to take when we're watching a tough game?
Right, now, pickle juice. Irene, it has happened. The men have found pickle juice.
I knew this day was going to come. Sports people on television are doing it, so now the men are watching it on television and now they want to do it.
The circle of wellness.
Okay, Justin, let's explain this because it is interesting and it actually isn't a fad. There's actually some real science to pickle juice. Over to you, Lee.
The main reason athletes are chugging down their pickle juice is muscle cramps, actually. There's a genuinely fascinating study, famous in sports science circles, where they actually gave athletes pickle juice mid-cramp and the cramping stopped just in 85 seconds, so significantly faster than water alone. And here's the bit that surprised even researchers. It works too fast just to be about the electrolytes absorbing into your body. That actually takes longer. So what scientists now think is happening is that the vinegar is actually triggering a neurological reflex in the throat and stomach that basically tells your misfiring nerves to calm down. So it's not just about salt and sodium doing the work. It's actually your nervous system getting a sharp little reset, which is genuinely cool. And it also does contain electrolytes as well, obviously sodium and potassium. So for people who sweat heavily during physical exertion, it helps replenish what is lost. And the key words there, Justin, are actual physical exertion.
Are we going to raise the fact that I'm questioning how much actual cramping is occurring while you're watching the footy, Justin?
I don't necessarily cramp, but my leg goes to sleep sometimes. Does that
That's
count?
So, Justin, as a sedentary sports viewer rather than a sports doer, your electrolyte situation during the match is probably fine. Glass of water and perhaps some nuts will see you through.
Great, but I'll do that. But I have a pickled onion jar in the fridge, which is like vintage 2008. And is it like fine red wine when it's kind of better over time?
To be fair, pickling is a preservation method, so technically...
I don't know, Lee.
You're right. No, don't do it.
I've got to say, I will never have the problem of pickles going out of date in my fridge. I am obsessed with pickles. I don't drink the juice, but I love pickles. We always fight over the last pickle. Bread and butter pickle, sweet chili pickle, there's sour pickles, there's New York style pickles, there's large pickles, there's the little green pickles. I actually really love pickles.
All the pickles. You know, I'm the type of girl that will actually take the pickle out of her burger. I'm not a fan.
No. Do you know what I'll do? I'll make a salad with cucumber and then I'll add pickle as well. And isn't that what pickles are? Pickled cucumbers, isn't it? I'll have a cucumber with pickles.
You know, you can actually buy pickle juice shots now. They're sold specifically as a sports supplement. They're those little tiny bottles with a best before date.
Okay, well, you've given me a really good business idea to expand my very female customer base. Okay, just want to be serious for a second, Lee. You're a nutritionist. Is there actually some benefits to pickle juice, and when would it be actually useful for people?
Well, essentially for night cramps, it's really helpful. And if you're, for example, getting that calf cramp at 2 a.m. that makes you leap out of bed and feel like you've been tasered, pickle juice is actually a legitimate remedy worth trying, I think.
I wonder if it's good for PMS, like period cramps.
I don't know.
There needs to be some science on that. Maybe there is. Maybe someone should try that. Maybe I should try that.
It is quite a muscle relaxant from what I hear about it. And I love the curiosity around it and asking questions. And yeah.
Okay, well, maybe not so useless.
Thanks for that information. I will finish that jar and I'll miss it, little thing.
Yeah, retire the jar.
You know why I like the word pickle? Because, I'll tell you why I love the pickle, because I have, true story, I get myself into a lot of pickles, right? and it's a word I use to describe many situations that I find myself in. I remember even with my very, very badly failed non-alcoholic drinks business, I remember describing it to so many people. In my accountant, for example, I've gotten myself into a little pickle with this business. Just everything's just a little pickle. I get myself into a lot of pickles.
You know what? You could have actually had a product, which was the pickle juice, in your Sans drinks business.
If I was selling pickle juice, maybe it wouldn't have turned into such a pickle.
Next, it's Irene's turn to rant and or rave. The mic is yours. So let's see what kind of pickle you can get yourself into this week.
I don't want to get into too much of a pickle because I'm trying not to name brands, but it's a bit of a rant and a rave. First is a rave. I'm not sure how well known this is because it's been very, very quiet in mainstream media considering how enormous this actually is. But in France, what they've done is ban the use of PFAS, so forever chemicals like Teflon, in cosmetic products and beauty care products. And they banned it, I think it was last year, but it kicked in January this year. And, I mean, have you heard about that in mainstream media?
I mean, it was definitely an industry-wide reformulation, but the public barely got told anything about it.
Like anything at all. Like it was really hard just to find a mainstream news article on it. And then what's happened, have you noticed this year all of these TikTokers and Instagram talking about these new product formulations? I've seen so much coverage on the new Estee Lauder Double Wear. Oh, all of a sudden, after all of these years, Estee Lauder Double Wear Foundation has been reformulated. People are doing side-by-side comparisons. Has anyone ever thought about why it was reformulated and the fact that the original formulation was quite likely contained PFAS and they had to reformulate because a lot of cosmetics are made in France and they had to reformulate because of these new laws. The positive of this is, of course, when they've reformulated, the whole world got the different formulation, the cleaner formulation. But I just think everyone's been talking about the reformulation and not why it was reformulated.
I mean, yeah, it sounds like a whole regulatory shift has happened. Like, we've been hoodwinked and now all the influencers are talking about it. Like, it's a really good thing. And it is a good thing, but I just don't understand, like, the news cycle. They acted like nothing has happened.
Of course, it's a really good thing if you're taking forever chemicals out of beauty products. But, I mean, are we really trusting these brands that have had them in for all of these years? And then that quiet removal of those ingredients without really making a big deal about it. And it's not just that foundation. I'm pretty sure that's, please don't come after me, Estee Lauder. I'm pretty sure that if I just Google, it does say, if I just Google which products it affected, it does say Estee Lauder, particularly its long-last formulas, have been linked to containing forever chemicals. And now they don't. So that's a bit of a rant and a rave at once. And it's not just that product, though. It's also a lot of the waterproof mascaras. So a lot of like the Clinique waterproof mascara, they've all been reformulated. It's really interesting if you do the two formulations side by side. But again, my rave is, this is amazing that France has done that. It's amazing. What my rant is the fact that these brands have gotten away with having all of these forever chemicals in their products for, excuse more puns, forever. And now they've just quietly removed them from the formulation. Everyone's out there still supporting them. That's fine. I still trust you. I mean, really, if they look at the formulations, they're still full of crap, like silicones and a whole bunch of stuff. But
and it sounds like they were only removed after government intervention. Would that be fair to say?
Well, I think it's fair to say when there was a ban, that all of a sudden they got removed. Exactly. Of course, they didn't remove them all for all of these other years. I mean, it just makes me so mad. Actually, it just makes me so mad because I really do feel like they've just gotten away with it and they have only done it because they've been forced to. I just feel that they didn't take it out because of their love and passion for their customers and the products, but more because there was a ban and they legally had to.
It was definitely reactionary, huh?
Anyway, hopefully none of those brands come after me, but if anyone can just look it up online, and it's just like there's just quite a lot of articles and YouTube videos on all of this. Again, though, having a scroll right now, through Google, I can't see any articles from the mainstream media. No Channel 9, no Channel 7. Not like, for example, the huge mainstream media outbursts we have seen over the sunscreen saga and the TGA saga.
Yeah.
Maybe that's because it's more specific to sort of smaller brands, and I guess nobody wants to piss off Estee Lauder, huh? Okay, Lee. So despite not having much room here in the cabin, we had a blast, didn't we?
Oh, you're pushing that button on the mushroom buns. Oh, thanks, Mason, the mushroom man himself. I think we can all agree he's an absolute fun guy.
Oh, oh dear. Okay, so what a journey. Underground, up tree stumps, into our guts, into our brain. Mason took us everywhere.
And we also helped Justin, who was in a bit of a pickle.
Pun intended. And how was my forever chemicals rant? Did you like that?
Yeah, love that.
Yeah, I regret nothing that I've said. Please hit that subscribe button so you never miss a week here in the cabin.
And please share this episode with someone who needs a little wellness in their life, which is most people.
Drop into our DMs. We love hearing from you. And check out Lee's Nutritionist Nerd Notes right here on whatever platform you are listening to.
Please rate us, review us on Apple or Spotify. It only takes 30 seconds, and honestly, it means everything to us because every single review helps more lovely humans find their way into the cabin.
And this has just been one of my favourite episodes so far.
We shiitake you not.
All right then. Bye. Mwah.
Wellness Unfiltered is a production of Clean Nectarine Proprietary Limited and Supercharged Food Proprietary Limited. It is hosted by Lee Holmes and Irene Falcone with editing and technical support by Justin Smidmore. You can listen to each episode on your favourite pod platform or on Substack at wellnessunfilteredpod.com. Wellness Unfiltered is for informational and educational purposes only and does not constitute medical, health, legal or financial advice. The views expressed are personal opinions of the hosts and guests and do not represent the views of Clean Nectarine or Supercharged Food. This podcast does not establish a doctor-patient or other professional relationship. Always consult a qualified healthcare professional before making any changes to your health or treatment.